Okay, take two. This is going to be about my BRCA1 genetic mutation journey, mostly focusing on the fact that I had my prophylactic or preventative double mastectomy 3 weeks ago to the date. And just to start caveating, obviously I'm not a doctor. This isn't meant to be medical advice. In the days and months leading up to my surgery, I found it most helpful and most affirming, making me feel better to see other people's positive stories, especially younger women's positive stories. I'm part of the Facebook BRCA1 and 2 gene mutation groups, as well as a preventative mastectomy one on there. But I also, I always say mastectomy instead of mastectomy, just a habit. And also part of the BRCA subreddit, which I feel like for me at least has been more helpful than some of the stuff posted in the Facebook group, just my experience. And to, I think just because of the way Facebook and Reddit are, like the Facebook group kind of skews older. The Reddit definitely has a good sampling of everyone, but I also was inspired to sit down and talk to my experience because every week as I'm scrolling through there, I just keep seeing more and more women who are saying, hi, I'm 25, I'm 26, and I just found out that I have this and I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm 25, I'm 26, and I need to get this done. Don't know why I'm saying 25, 26. Just people in their 20s are saying this. And I myself, I'm 27. But yeah, I thought that it might be best to just do like a makeup, a little get ready with me, if you will, to help cut down on me looking directly at the camera and feeling awkward. So I'm just gonna jump in. So I found out that I had the BRCA1 genetic mutation, gene mutation, when I was 18 years old. I'm pretty sure that's like the youngest they'll test you. A lot of my doctors are my mom's doctors. A lot of them were saying don't test until you're 25 because there's not really much we can do. Really hope that you can't hear my kittens gnawing on something in the background. This is one of my little babies. This is Spider. If you can get kittens, we're foster failing them. If you can get a pet, if you're thinking about getting a pet, definitely have one for recovery. They have been so helpful because I've basically just been hanging out and laying on the couch, and they like to do that too. Okay, back to what I was saying. Well, cats are still causing mischief. I got tested when I was 18, and the reason that I even got tested, my mom had the BRCA1 genetic mutation, and she passed away when I was 17, which I think is why I was so eager to find out if I had it or not. For some odd reason, I really believed that I didn't have it, so I think I just wanted to get it out of the way and be like, okay, I can go about my life and I know that I don't have this genetic mutation. Talking about my mom and my experience with grief and having my mom have cancer, I think is a whole separate video, so I'm not gonna try and bite that off today. But yeah, I obviously knew there was a chance that I would have it. Basically, there's a 50-50 shot. If one of your parents has it, like you either have it or you don't, 50-50 chance. For some reason, like I said, I was like, I'm actually gonna pass on having this. I don't have this. Yes, you do, is what they said when I got tested. But at that point, I was 18, so I was a freshman in college. I remember I was home for like fall break or something when I found out. I was pretty bummed. But again, not much you could do outside of like lifestyle choices at that point. So I kind of just went about college not thinking about it too much. I obviously think about like diet and exercise. But we're getting into so many other details that like are not relevant to, I want to talk about what just happened as it's fresh in my mind. I honestly think I might have to ditch this makeup idea because like I'm having such trouble organizing my thoughts. Also, like, I'm not a makeup guru. I don't know if you want to see me do this. Basically, I kind of always in the back of my head knew that I would probably pursue preventative surgery. From my perspective, like, it's very hard to watch my mom go through what she went through, and I would have a really hard time not pursuing a preventative double mastectomy, knowing what I know and seeing that firsthand. So my thinking always was that I would do it before I turned 29 because my mom was first diagnosed with breast cancer at 29, which is extremely, extremely young. Now that I'm 27, I honestly cannot fathom that. And I can't fucking imagine, excuse my language, my mom and my dad going through this all, newly married, and they have a little baby, me. Like, ugh, this is, again, a whole nother video. Those are very hard. And now I'm thinking about my mom. Okay. So where I was before I made the decision to do this is that I had been getting MRIs since 2021. It's 2025 now. It's April. I had to abandon doing my makeup on camera because I could not form thoughts and also complete my makeup. So I just did my see, like, what's wrong with me? I can't even talk. I just did my eyeliner, eyeshadow, mascara, and added more lip. Not going to be the get ready with me queen that I thought. Okay. I really started painting the whole picture there. I think we need to take a few steps back. Started to get really down into the details of like the full timeline journey, but I just wanted to give context, like, because I do think other people that I've seen online, like, they get this information that they are BRCA1 positive, and then they have to immediately make decisions about surgery. I obviously have had a ton of time to digest this. Let's focus on the preventative care that I had. The other reason I wanted to make this video is because I was having a really hard time leading up to the date of my surgery. I was, very upset that I even have to do this. Don't want to be thinking about this. I didn't love any of my options, meaning that I don't want to stick around and have these breasts. Can I say boobs on YouTube? When I talk about boobs, I say boobs, but I guess I could say breasts. Obviously, huge caveat as well. Obviously, this is much better case scenario, much easier than going through, and honestly not comparable at all to actually having cancer and having to make a plan to deal with that and how that seriously impacts your life. I am extremely lucky to have this knowledge and be able to make these decisions and have access to this information. Knowledge is definitely power. So then that kind of plays into all of the complicated feelings that I was going through, dealing with in the months, weeks leading up. I would feel so down and be so upset, and then I would feel so guilty. I'd be thinking about my mom having cancer multiple times, and people who don't have this information, people my age who have breast cancer diagnoses, feeling so guilty that I would be upset because I don't have it as bad as people who do have a diagnosis. But I think it's just hard. It's hard. Like, this is hard to talk about. Knowledge is power. Being able to make these decisions is so amazing. Like, I think that's also why I want to talk about this, because there's not a lot of content out there. I was just looking on YouTube again this morning. I looked a couple months ago. There's not a lot of personal accounts, and what helped me feel the best, like I was saying before, is just reading other people's positive takes. Knew that this was going to happen before I was 29, so I was kind of targeting this window between 25 and 29 to get it done. My experience with having my yearly MRI, I started in 2021, and I had 2 biopsies, which basically, if you're getting screened now with MRI, you know that they give you a BIRAD score out of 5, and 2 times I had something suspicious come back ranked 4 out of 5. I do think having the BRCA gene, they rate things maybe higher because they know that you're at such a high risk. I didn't even talk about like what is BRCA, but if you have found this video, you probably know what it is. And that's not the point of this video. I had already had 2 biopsies, which basically meant they needed to take a piece of my breast tissue and look into it further. Make sure that it wasn't anything. And the first time that happened, I was so scared, because if you Google that, like BIRADs out of 4 out of 5, it's basically saying that there's a good chance that it's something bad, something malignant, and that was really terrifying. And then I had this other biopsy in the fall of last year, 2024. And I kind of also knew that this was going to be probably the last MRI I would have before preventative mastectomy. I was like, of course it comes back needing a biopsy as I'm about to get all of this stuff out. We have to look into it further. But I didn't have everything like squared away. I decided to do it. Obviously, if something comes back saying you need to, look into it more, you're going to want to do that. So that came back. It was all fine. It's really hard with young women because our breasts are so dense, and there's a lot of hormonal fluctuations month to month, which is why it's important to have MRIs done, that they can kind of see if something is abnormal or not. But yeah, I definitely didn't love the feeling both times of having to wait, because you have to time it with your menstrual cycle to when they look at it. Feeling of having to wait a month to hear if something was wrong or not. That was horrible. So then that was another thing just pushing me to have this done. Also, the age that I'm at, people are going to be, having their bachelorette parties, having their weddings. And this is all kind of probably going to be happening in the next 5 years. And do I want to be, dealing with all of this then when I have this information? So that kind of influenced me to just get this done. Then once I made that decision, it was like, okay, like what are we waiting for? Let's just do it now. I think originally, like if I had planned this out more than like a year in advance or something, I probably would have been thinking like, let's do this in the fall or the winter so that I can hide myself away. Now that I've done this and it's April and I'm gonna obviously have a second surgery down the line, haven't even talked about that. If you're in a place with 4 seasons, if you can line this up with warmer weather, it's, I think, definitely better mentally. Okay, so that is how we arrived at me deciding to get this done this year. I think I put this all in motion in November, December timeframe. Your doctor should talk you through all the options. I was not a candidate for deep flap. Basically what my options were for preventative surgery were to have implants or to go flat. I definitely considered both of these options. I don't fully love the idea of having implants, but again, I'm still in my 20s. I'm very young. This is obviously really hard to see your body change. I think if I had done this any younger, it would have been a million times harder. I do think it is nice that I am 27. Like, I've at least seen my own body change and dealt with that a little bit. I think if I had to do this 5 years ago, it would be more like devastating to me. But I understand now, the age I am, that bodies change. Things change. It's fine. And it's not the end of the world. But I also definitely considered going flat. because it does scare me a little bit to have implants inside. It wasn't something that I ever would have considered if I, wasn't in this situation. So I wasn't thrilled that that is really like the option, or to be flat. Mentally, I don't know, like that would have been really hard, I think, for me. To go, like I was wearing a D cup before surgery. So I think for me to be flat, like it would be a really big change. And ultimately, I made my decision, got to decide something. I think that's something else too, like through this whole process, like I think when you're young, you think that there's a right option and a wrong option, and you'll be punished if you choose the wrong option, you'll be rewarded if you choose the one option. That's not really the way that life works. You make your choices, and the road unfolds in front of you, and things change based off that. So yeah, move forward with action. I remember one of my latest appointments before going in for surgery, the nurse asked if I was ready, and I was like, no, but like, you don't need to be ready to do things. Sometimes you just have to do things and you end up on the other side, and that's the way it goes. If you didn't do anything until you were feeling fully ready, like I'd probably never do anything. So I made my decision, got it all set up, met with the plastics team. They'll take pictures of you, measure you out, see how things are gonna go. Leading up to surgery, I definitely was really scared, and the anticipation was definitely the worst part of this whole process. So I can say to you, if you're dreading this like I was, I feel like I had overblown it in my head a little bit. Context, I've never had major surgery. Like the closest I've been to ever having surgery is that I went under anesthesia once. I was really scared of the pain. People talk about nerve pain. Mobility is impacted. Or picking apart parts of your body and stitching them back together. Like in my head, I thought that that meant I was going to wake up and be in severe pain. I knew I was going to be on pain meds. I only had some time in the months leading up where I was letting myself be unhappy and dwell and think, negatively. But you kind of just have to, once you made the decision, like you're doing this, I felt like I was only really like torturing myself. Maybe I'll add in a clip here of some of my things. I'm a little cornball, and I made a note in my phone and wrote Little Book of Strength, and I collected all this stuff that made me feel better. So maybe I'll share that at the end of this as some inspiration to kind of help you on your journey. But yeah, I just really had to shift my mindset and think about the positives, remind myself why I'm doing this. For me, it was nice to schedule this in April, really close to my mom's birthday. I always struggle with what to do on her birthday, on the day that she passed, like as what can I do to feel close to her, to remember her. And I mean, like, what could be more important than using this information to make sure that I don't have to deal with the same things that she did. So that was nice. At least that I kind of felt like I was doing it for her, which definitely helped me. But yeah, I feel like as I got closer and closer, honestly, I was kind of reaching stages of acceptance with it, and I just was like, it is what it is. I'm already going through a hard time, like why make it harder on myself? Yeah, so once the day got there, I was honestly feeling ready to do it. As far as preparation goes, I bought myself 2 mastectomy bras. If you can ask your doctor or hospital what they're going to send you home with, I would, because they sent me home with 2, and I had purchased the version that they gave me, and I wish I didn't spend 70 bucks on it because I already had to from the hospital. I did purchase another one from NYX that is different than the one they gave me and has smaller straps, which I am glad I have because it is just a little bit easier to wear with clothes. But yeah, let's talk about it because I, like I said, had never had surgery. If you're younger, maybe, you know, you're in the same boat. It is kind of a whirlwind. They gave me the nerve blocker. That part was, again, some of the only like pain, extreme discomfort that I have. Obviously, once they do that, you can't feel that much, and then you're on pain medication while you're getting surgery. I was awake when they wheeled me into the OR and then, you know, quickly went under. So that was like 11 a.m., 10 a.m., probably 11 a.m. I woke up at like 3:50. Felt like something had happened, but I wasn't in like a tremendous amount of pain. And then they let my boyfriend come back because he was going to be the one helping me strip my drains. So when I woke up, I was in the bra and obviously like all bandaged up and stuff. And then I had 2 drains on each side to take away all of the fluid. People say that the drains are the worst part of this process and you'll feel so much better once they're gone. Mine honestly weren't super annoying. It's obviously annoying that you have to strip and drain them twice a day, but it wasn't super painful. Honestly, the only painful, true pain part of this was getting one of them removed because it was like stuck to something inside of me and it had to be like yanked out. But even that, like it wasn't super painful. So back to the day of surgery. Yeah, my family got me in the car and then I went home the same day. They gave me tramadol, so I was on pain medication. Only took it like that night, and I think the next day it said only to take it if you were in severe pain. And like I said, I really wasn't in any pain. Like I was just having discomfort, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I had imagined. So after that, obviously pretty tired, so I just kind of went to bed. The next few days, I actually was feeling like pretty good, so I was able to walk around. Really just tried to not use my arms very much. I feel like in the last few days I've gotten my mobility back somewhat. I still don't feel like I can like fully put my hands behind my head or anything, but my doctor told me to be like super careful for one more week. Not super careful, but just to take it easy for another week. I'll probably be able to drive in another week, so yeah, jumping all around. But the situation with the drains, you get 2 of them out 1 week after, and then you get the other 2 out the following. So was happy to have those out. Did not go direct to implant. It was basically explained to me that if you do it this way, they will have more control over the final approach with your implants. So right now, during the surgery, I got a nipple sparing, preventative, double mastectomy with delayed reconstruction. So they basically just like cut right under, take out everything inside, anything that would be starting cancer. And then, you know, the plastics team comes in and they put in the expander. So the expander is surrounded by a mesh, avicular matrix. So I believe it's essentially cadaver tissue. It also will help to form as part of the like healing scar tissue. My body will incorporate it as opposed to like forming a hard pocket around an implant immediately. Because I know that, believe that is called capsular constriction, I believe. So it made sense. I'm obviously young. I'm gonna have these things for a while. I'm like, let's put some time and effort into this. Let's do delayed reconstruction. But totally understand why someone would just want to get this over and do one surgery. I thought that I was going to be a candidate for direct to implant reconstruction, but then once I had this explained to me, did a little bit of my own research, I felt like it was the right decision for me. So here we are. I have in the expanders. So that's another part of this whole recovery. I have to get them filled every week or so. So when I got my last 2 drains out, I also got my first fill. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Scar is pretty much like completely hidden. Yeah, I thought I was gonna like really hate the way that I would look. I was really scared of looking fake and unnatural. It obviously does not look like a real breast, and it obviously is most important that I am safe and healthy, and I've taken action. But obviously I still care how I look. I don't want to be uncomfortable or hate what I see when I look in the mirror. And I've been pleasantly surprised by how much I like the appearance of them. I've just been, honestly, like the major takeaway is that I've been pleasantly surprised, and everything has gone much smoother, much less painful, much better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be an extreme discomfort, but it's been pretty smooth sailing. I am definitely, like I said, I'm 3 weeks out. I'm definitely starting to get more of my mobility back. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna keep documenting my recovery journey, because I think it is helpful. Like I said, reading people's positive stories on the subreddit really helped me to feel good about this decision. People were posting saying like, it's all going well, they're happy, it's not as bad as they thought it would be. So I thought to just connect a person to that too would be helpful, hopefully, to someone who is looking to complete this. I think too, when you're really young, like it seems insane to have this surgery, especially like if you don't have a super strong family history and you have this gene, it might seem totally crazy to have such an intense surgery. But I'm really happy that I went ahead and did it. And they sent all my tissue to the lab to see what was in there, if there's anything precancerous or cancerous. I got that back and I'm all good. So I'm really happy about that too. It just gives me, I feel like I won't have to deal with this. I also didn't talk about this in the beginning, but if you're BRCA1, like you probably know, the risk of developing cancer in your lifetime is between like 65% to 80%. They say you have a lifetime risk of 80%, I believe is now the stat that they use. It's really hard to argue with that, like not doing it. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about how positive my experience has been. Like I've been walking around, I've been seeing friends. Let's talk about what's been most helpful too. I have an amazing support system around me. I live with my partner, so having someone to, grab things from high places, strip your drains, carry heavy things for you, clean dishes, like in that first 2-week period, I did not want to be lifting anything like more than 2 pounds. That was the biggest help. Obviously, you kind of need someone to really help you. And I also had an amazing group of friends bringing me meals, which was awesome to be able to eat home cooked food. People say that you want a wedge pillow. I decided to buy a pregnancy pillow, but I honestly haven't really used it for sleeping. I just found that it was easiest for me to take like 3 pillows and stack them up and make my own little wedge. I have been sleeping upright. You'll definitely want to do that. You won't want to sleep on your side. But I don't think you need a wedge pillow. I haven't really had trouble getting out of bed. Like I saw some people saying you need a recliner, but I don't think you do. What else? I bought myself a pair of slip-on shoes so that I wouldn't have to like bend down and do all that if I just wanted to take myself out on a little walk. Basically just been taking it easy, but my main reason for making this is just to say, like, if you're really scared, if you're just starting out, don't be so scared and know that you're making the right decision, whatever you decide to do for yourself. Definitely, I don't think I even did that much research. Like, I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I knew what the options were. I didn't really look into like other doctors or anything. Yeah. But if you're going through this, you're not alone. And I think it's just important to remember that you are, able to make this decision before, yeah. Yeah, it is crazy because we're probably the first group of people in history that have been able to make this sort of health decision in regard to cancer. Like, can't really think of anything else where someone is able to take action and reduce their cancer risk in this way. If you're BRCA1 or 2, you also have an increased risk of ovarian cancer along with other types of cancers. So probably down the line for me, I'm going to pursue having my ovaries removed. Maybe there is interesting science with like just removing your tubes. They think maybe ovarian cancer starts in the fallopian tubes and you'll just be able to remove that. Hopefully by the time I do this, we'll have more clarity and I can make my decision based upon that. But I know that, early menopause might be something that I'm dealing with if I have to get my ovaries removed. So I want to have access to hormone replacement therapy. And if you have had cancer in the past, doctors would be reluctant to let you have access to estrogen because it could fuel cancer in your body. So knowing that I'm at such high risk, knowing how young my mom had cancer, I chose to, just another reason that I chose to do this early. It's April, it's end of April right now, and I'm probably going to have my second surgery sometime in July. I know my doctor said that they like to do the second surgery 3 months after your last fill as in filling in the expanders. I really want to take the time to make sure my mobility is where I want it to be, and I'm able to reincorporate fitness back into my life without rushing into it or neglecting it. Honestly, one of the hardest parts of this whole process was canceling my Bar 3 membership. I feel like was in the best shape of my life before doing this, and I was starting to get arm muscles, and I was really excited about my schedule and how often I was working out. So having to cancel that is really upsetting. I go to bar probably 4 to 5 times a week, and I'd be lifting 5-pound weights in a signature class, and in a strength class lifting like 12 to 15 pounds of weight. I'm probably gonna have to start back at like 2 pounds to get to where I was. I can lift my arms, but let's keep it together. Yeah, just worried about feeling like myself. Obviously, I don't really have many friends my age who have been through something like this, can understand this, but I still feel like myself. I feel totally normal. Maybe I sound crazy dramatic to you, and you think this isn't a big deal. It's just boobs, which is so true. Like, I'm not losing an arm or a leg or an eye or something that I need. Like, boobs are kind of vestigial, I feel like. Like, what do you need them for? Breastfeeding? Won't be able to do that, but the fact that it impacts like your mobility, I think, is really annoying. But like I said, it's not the end of the world, and I'm lucky enough to have time to fully heal and make myself, feel better. This is going to be so long, but I also wanted to talk about some other things that I did to help me feel prepared for surgery. I definitely was still keeping my workout routine. This is such basic advice, but taking a walk, just getting into new scenery, just changing your environment when you're having a bad mental space that you're in is really helpful. I'm also gonna go grab the vision board. My friends and I make vision boards every January. So this is the one I made for this year, so let me go get that. This is just in general for the year, but I feel like it was a fun little exercise. Just reminding myself that this year, sometimes life is not what you think it's gonna be. Sometimes you need to, I just need I think too, for me, like slowing down is really hard. I like to keep things moving, and sometimes you're gonna have to slow down and you're not gonna be able to do things that you wanna do, but that's life. And life is all about change. Things are constantly in flux, and that's just the way that life is. Other things that I did leading up to surgery, I wanted to have a photo shoot, so scheduled that with a photographer just to have some pictures like that I can look back on when I'm a little old lady. The other thing, my friend is an artist, shout out Maggie, and she had the idea to cast my chest. Don't know like what we'll ever do with that or how that will be presented. But I know I've actually seen a few people in the like BRCA breast cancer community who have also done that, and I think there's a company that will send people casts if they're going to have a mastectomy to have that done. So not the first person to do it. Sure, I won't be the last, but I know I have it if I ever want it, if I ever want to look. Definitely take pictures of yourself, but I think I also didn't want to be too attached to this old version of me. Like I was kind of saying, like life, you're constantly changing, you know, you're not always going to look the same. Things happen. Kintsugi, the idea, the Japanese idea that, you know, things are made more beautiful through their like scars and restoration, I think was a helpful idea for me. There's still obviously quite some time and some other surgery to go yet, and some visits to get my expanders filled. So I'll be taking you along that journey. I think I'm also just gonna start vlogging. I have quite some time on my hands and not a lot to do, just trying to take it easy. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll be looking out. I definitely I'm gonna be editing this and realize that there's so much more I wanted to say and I didn't say it cohesively. I feel like I covered most of it.